The TEFL Commute, Season 9, Episode 4, IATEFL Debrief, in which Sean and Lindsay catch up after a long week. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hi, Sean. How are you?
Long time no see.
I know, seriously.
Makes a change, doesn't it? Oh, no, sorry.
Listeners,
I forgot. Can I have your autograph? Can I have your autograph, please?
Oh,
please.
dear. Listeners, welcome. This is another episode of the TEFL Commute, a podcast for language teachers. It's not about language teaching, but the topic will come up.
Will come up. You've changed it. I thought it might come up.
It might, yeah, but I don't think it will that much today. That's because Sean and I are very exhausted. We've just come back from a very long, intense week at IATEFL, which was held in Liverpool this year.
I thought you were going to stop that, which was hell.
No, it was held. It was held. It took place in Liverpool, which was great.
I'll tell you what was hell, which you can't tell. I mean, one of the things I was doing in Liverpool, of course, was running the interviews of people, and the rain was so bad at some points we had to stop the interview. All you could hear on the microphone is the rain bouncing off the conference centre.
It was the IATEFL, which is the International Association for Teachers of English as a Foreign Language conference, which is like one of the biggie conferences in the world, was in Liverpool, and the weather was most of the time pretty awful, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah, it was. I mean, I also say it was the perfect conference weather because you're inside anyway, you know.
Yeah.
And so you don't really want a beautiful 30-degree day where you want to go sit in a cafe or whatever because it's a conference. I know not everybody shares that opinion, but for me, yeah. But the rain on the conference centre roof was quite incredible.
Did you have a good one?
My conferences have evolved because obviously I've been going to IATEFL for well over a decade now, and obviously I used to go as a participant, stroke speaker or whatever. And now, of course, being a trustee of IATEFL, it's kind of much more involved in. For me, IATEFL's just meeting after meeting and lots of recordings. And obviously, they're in catch-up of friends. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the week, but it's funny how the conference has evolved for me as an attendee.
Yeah, well, I had an interesting week because, of course, I gave a big talk at the end, one of the plenaries. You also did. You introduced me, and you had another plenary bit at the very last plenary.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think both of us had that hanging over us for the whole week. So I did attend sessions, but my mind was constantly elsewhere.
I've known you, as I said in the intro on stage, for a number of years now, Lindsay. I've never seen you quite so quiet.
I know. And what people might not know, if you saw that talk, what you don't know is that afterwards I had 2 enormous nosebleeds. And I think it must have been just like the pent up stress from everything. I mean, I was very happy how it all went. By the way, we won't talk anymore about that, but
I just have a question. We won't talk.
Go for it.
Do you remember it? So, because the reason I asked is somebody was asking me about the moderated panel, obviously, which I was on stage, and I wasn't. I didn't have to be as present as you were all the time.
Yeah.
But I can't actually remember it. It just kind of went past in a blur.
Yeah, it did seem to go past me in a blur. I remember sort of the experience in general, but not sort of details. Incidentally, everybody, if you are interested in IATEFL at all and have not seen any of this, a lot of it is available online. So you can go and see some of the sessions. You could see my session, the final plenary that Sean hosted as well as all the other plenaries and several other workshops. And that's at where is it at? It's at
it's teaching online through the British Council site, but you can go through IATEFL to find it. And obviously, there's also on the IATEFL YouTube channel. Since I might as well plug those. There's about 40 interviews with people like yourself from the conference. So you're gonna get a feel of what it was like. However, conference aside, Lindsay, obviously the highlight of the conference actually happened before the conference actually began,
Yes, exactly. And that's why we're doing this short podcast episode as a sort of debrief, partly, debrief on our IATEFL, but also a debrief on our first ever TEFL Commute event, which we had organized and we're talking to you about in previous episodes, which was the unofficial IATEFL TEFL Commute board games night.
So it's an unofficial IATEFL, but official TEFL Commute, really.
Yeah, it's official TEFL Commute, unofficial IATEFL thing.
And I'm going to get the name of the cafe wrong because we've joked about it too much. It's what is it?
Sugar and Dice.
Sugar and
was
Dice.
The name, although Sean kept calling it Slice and Dice. Sugar and Dice was the name of the cafe. It was just near the conference center in Liverpool. It was a wonderful board games cafe.
Well, they're fabulous.
They were very, very. We
definitely
give a big shout out to Sugar and Dice. And there were around 26 of us who all showed up from many different countries, English teachers all, listeners of this podcast and friends of, and we played board games the whole evening. And it was one of the first times that Sean, myself, and producer James were all together in the same room. So we couldn't pass up the opportunity. We whipped out the recorders and started recording things. And I think for the rest of this episode, we're going to share bits and pieces of our night and the games we played and why we like them, what we think of them.
Yeah. Except so there's one table in the corner that insisted on playing children's games all evening. Kudos, but you're not included in this episode.
And another table who insisted on playing Settlers of Catan.
Oh, that's right.
Which also
Catan,
kudos,
right? Yeah.
but wasn't sort of English teacher games.
I think that's Sandy Millen's influence, to be honest.
But there were lots of other games that would be of interest to teachers in terms of things you could maybe do with your class or on a night out with teachers for a lot of fun. Shall we pass on to some of our recordings then?
Yeah, okay, let's go.
So hello everyone and welcome to a very special edition of the TEFL Commute podcast. We're here tonight at the IATEFL conference. This is the first time the TEFL Commute team have ever all been together in the same place. So let's introduce a couple of very familiar voices. So hello Sean.
Hi.
And hello, Lindsay.
Hi there, James, producer James.
Yes, we're all
Good
here
to be
together.
with you.
Hang on, didn't we have a rule that James couldn't be back on microphone? Did we make that at the end of last season?
No,
But this is a special occasion.
This is a special
Come
occasion.
on, we're all
Come
here
on,
sitting
Sean.
around the same microphone. It's a beautiful thing. Sean.
Okay.
Open your
We're being
hearts.
laughed at.
Oh no, quite understandably. So, Lindsay, can you tell us where we are?
Okay, we are recording this from the Sugar and Dice Cafe, which is a board game cafe in Liverpool, which is just around 350 meters away from the conference center where the IATEFL conference is taking place this year. So we decided to put on a board games night because we're all quite board game enthusiasts, and it's the first unofficial IATEFL board game night.
Yeah, it's IATEFL. It's the first TEFL Commute social evening.
Yes.
It is, yes.
Possibly the last, the way we started.
So, Sean, are you looking forward to this evening?
No, not at all. You didn't expect that as the answer, though, did you?
Sean, I've known you long enough to know exactly that's what
Yes,
you're
it
going to say.
is. Yeah. Yes, I am very much looking for. I like the fact we're all in the same place for once.
It is good, yeah. And so, any particular game you're looking forward to playing?
I'm gonna. What you hear is the door as people come into the cafe. Welcome.
So this is podcasting live and happening.
Yeah, see, people are arriving for the board game.
It's happening right here.
I am looking forward to two things. I'm looking forward to playing Codenames because I like playing Codenames. I'm also looking forward to playing Spyfall because I've never played it, and Lindsay goes on about it enough.
That's true, he does.
Yeah,
That's true.
so-
Lindsay, any games for you?
For me, I'm looking forward to playing Dixit because I've heard a lot about this game, Dixit. I also want to play a game called Crime Raiders, which is a kind of storytelling game, like Cluedo, but storytelling kind of thing. So, looking forward to those two.
Okay, so we're going to have a great evening, and you'll be hearing from various people who are here tonight. So let's get gaming, yeah.
Let's play some games.
All right.
I can't believe you turned down the wheelchair.
So I'm at one of the tables here, and I'm joined by Ceci. Hi, Ceci. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm having fun now.
So which game are you playing?
We're playing Codenames.
And so far, what do you think?
So far, I think it's an awesome game. It's fun. It makes us think. It makes us try to think what the other person is going to think, because it's all about references. And it makes us dig into all the words that we can possibly think that connect words. And so it gets into our lexical repertoire as well.
Tyson, how's it going so far for you?
Really good. It's very complicated to actually try to put together one word that means several words. Actually, yeah.
But personally, how's it going? Have you won yet, or anything? Or
Have I won yet? No, I did not win last time. But the first go this round, aces. Yes.
so there's something. Vicky, are there any other games you know about that you're planning on playing this evening, or are you just along for the ride?
Yeah, I was hoping to play Dixit. I love Dixit.
So you've played that before?
Yes, we played that before. We played at home. My daughter loves it, so we played together.
Well, good luck, everyone. Fingers crossed. Okay, so I've come to another table now. Can you introduce yourself for us?
Yes, my name's Craig, and I'm honoured and humbled to be even considered to be on TEFL Commute, one of my favourite podcasts. And please don't edit this out.
Wow, if only we had more listeners like this. So can you tell us which game you're playing?
We're playing the Settlers of Catan, and I've been playing for half an hour and I still have got no idea what's going on. So I'm relying on my strong teammate who seems to have grasped it in 5 minutes.
Okay, well, speaking about that, Sandy, when I came over about half an hour ago, you would start explaining the rules to everyone, and then every 5 minutes I kept looking over, and you were still explaining the rules. So I see you actually playing the game now. So do you think people have grasped it or not?
I think they're getting better, and I don't think you're going to blame me for mis-explaining the rules for them not understanding it. It's one of those games where you see all the rules at the beginning, and then it makes sense as you start to play. We've only actually had 2 turns each so far.
Okay, so just the 2 turns. Yeah. Okay. So Mike, how's it going for you so far?
It's taking forever. No, it's one of those games which is. It seems quite complex, as Sandy was saying, but I think it's kind of basic concepts. But there's many of them. Yeah.
So, Olga, have you played this game before?
I actually have, but I don't like it that much. And this one is not going anyway, I'm sorry.
Okay, so you're not terribly impressed. Okay, well, maybe I'll check back later on and see if you've decided to play something else. Okay, thanks everybody.
Disney character.
But I know Okay, fine.
Okay, Lindsay, let's catch up. So we're about halfway through the evening. How's it going so far? Any glorious victories?
No glorious victories. We were just playing Articulate, which was good, but seems to be an old game because it had lots of old words that we didn't really know. But it was still a lot of fun, and Spyfall has been a big hit so far tonight. Spyfall, which I think I spoke about on the podcast. Lots of fun. No big victories for Lindsay, though. Not yet.
Okay, well, there's still time, isn't there? And what are you going to play next?
I think people are going to set up... Some people are setting up Cards Against Humanity, which is a bit dangerous, but we'll see how that goes.
That is dangerous. As anyone who's played it will know. Yeah. So good luck with that.
All right. And maybe going to set up a game of crime stories, I think. Crime stories game, which should be fun.
Okay, so I've come back to the people playing Settlers of Catan. So they're in the middle of some quite frantic negotiation here, trying to figure out what's going on. Sounds very complicated. It seems to be a state of confusion. I'm going to speak now to someone to see if I can, if they actually know what's happening.
You are attacking us, essentially.
Throw away 4. Steal 1.
Fine. We've just been attacked, Sandy.
So, Dennis, can you give me a report on how the game's going? What's going on here?
There's a lot of strategizing, a lot of a lack of collaboration and cooperation. When you want to exchange, nobody wants to exchange because it's a very neoliberal game. So it's all about capturing resources and not giving them out to anybody else. So it's perfect for the current moment we're living.
And do you feel that you're your inner capitalist is doing well, or is there some kind of liberal streak in you which is failing?
I just want to share the board between all of us so that we can all get equal resources and rape the planet together.
Chia's here. She's in the middle of a very crucial move. I'm just going to find out how she feels about how this is going.
I'm quite depressed, actually. I'm being pillaged by Mike Harrison. It's my fault, really, because I suggested this game because I've read a lot of really good reviews about it, and it's even on my Amazon wish list. But now playing it and getting pillaged, I'm not so happy about it.
And what does your partner here think?
My partner's just kind of... My partner here! He should be asleep right now, my 8-month-old partner. He doesn't know what's going on.
Is he offering much strategically?
Yeah, I suppose, like in the form of cuddles.
Well, maybe I'll come back, or maybe I'll give up on you. We'll see how it goes.
You turn down the wheelchair.
So I've been joined now by another familiar voice to listeners of TEFL Commute. Ceri. Hello, Ceri.
Hello, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Are you having a good time at the first ever TEFL Commute event?
Obviously, yeah. Great time. Yeah.
What have you played so far?
Okay, so we played Dixit, and we're now trying to play Articulate, but I was particularly inarticulate in the last round.
Now, Dixit is a ELT teacher's favourite game, right? I haven't played. I'm about to play a game, so does it live up to the hype?
Yeah, I know Dixit already. It's one of my faves, and I love the pictures more than anything. I think we talked about it on one of the episodes.
I remember you mentioning it on one of the episodes, yeah.
Yeah, on the games episode,
That's right,
yeah. So we only had a couple of rounds of that, and I think then people kind of got more interested in conversations and food, and it kind of dwindled. So I don't know if that's actually selling the game much, if food was more interesting, but...
Well, that may be a reflection more of the people who are playing, right?
Yes, not on the game.
No, not on the game. Well, I'm about to play, so I'll report back. There is that. That's very true. So you're playing Articulate now, yeah?
Yes.
And how's that going? How's that going for you so far?
Well, we did really well on the objects round and atrociously on the people round. We got Miss Tiggywinkle, and my partner had absolutely no idea who Miss Tiggywinkle was. So detailed explanations were of no use whatsoever.
No, well, I know who Miss Tiggywinkle was, so...
Yeah, Dan knew who Miss Tiggywinkle was as well, but not my partner.
So I might have to... Maybe it's a game for me, do you reckon?
Yeah, you can come and play the game with us, I think. Yeah.
Okay, maybe in a bit. All right. Thanks, Ceri.
Okay, bye.
I'm recording.
Just catching up with the Settlers of Catan table. I've been noticing all night various tables. People have been playing different games, having a lot of fun. Every time I've looked over your table, you've been playing the same game all night. But you won, right, guys? That's what happened here.
Yeah. So Craig and myself, we were the winning team. We didn't think we would win because I only have played it half, and you've never played it.
And I've never played it, but I lent heavily on my partner's expertise and judgment and strategy. We were up against very tough competition, but I think the hours we put into training, 0, really paid off in the end. So very happy with the result, Jim.
Feels a lot like Sky Sports News right now. Any regrets about only playing one game the entire night?
No, it's a richer experience. You delve deeply into the game. We had Sandy Millen on our table explaining us how to play the game, and she said the first time you play takes a long time because you're getting used to all the rules. The second time gets quicker and quicker, so who knows, maybe we'll be back here in the future, another IATEFL.
Or tomorrow night.
Maybe tomorrow night, who knows, yeah.
But I think we're going to go and celebrate now with a brownie and enjoy the sweet taste of victory with a brownie. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
One more round with Stephanie as the employer. We set up the cafe so that there were people played other games, but we've chosen some games that could be used in language teaching, perhaps, for people to get started with. And so one of those games was the game Articulate. So, Lindsay, want to tell me more?
Yeah, so Articulate is like one of these word guessing games. So like you define a word. For example, it's a vegetable, it's yellow, it's long, rabbits eat it, and the person has to say carrot. Of course, it's more difficult than that because the definitions are more difficult. And you move around the board, and each place you land on a board, it's a bit like a Trivial Pursuit thing. So if you land on the blue squares, those are geography things. If you land on a green square, it's an object, a person, or so on and so forth. And the key is you have a timer where you have to pull as many cards and define as many things as you can from that category. So if we were doing people, I'd be pulling cards looking for the people sign and just keep defining people to my partner to see how many they could get. And then you move ahead the number of spaces of words that you have defined within a 45-second or whatever it is. So pretty much that's the game. Here, let's. Well,
I think we should have a first clip, which is like the kick-ass team that won hands down. So let's have a listen to the masters play this game.
It's a me, Harbour, no, yes, and the second part of it is the Prince, not Harry, but William. Yeah, so together. Prince William. No, Paul William. Thank you. Okay, part of the United States was hit by the hurricane and that trumped through the paper towels. Oh yeah, Puerto Rico. Okay, yeah. Emblematic place in Paris. What? The landmark of Paris. Yes. Just over here. Not Antarctica, the one at the top of the Arctic. Yeah, and the central point of that, the little North Pole. Yes. Okay, where the European Parliament is. Strasbourg. Oh, sorry. The Hague. No, okay, I'm wrong. Where Europe is, like the capital of Belgium. Brussels.
So, Lizzie, you were particularly good at that game, and I think our years of talking to each other on a podcast actually helped there. What I found, what was interesting, of course, like any games, you forget like the culture of a game. So obviously, Articulate in this case is a British game at heart. So it was interesting, as we shall see. Let's see in this clip when a non-Brit is also playing the game. So here's Graham and Tarana, who are both based in Mexico, taking their turn.
These are made of animals.
Clothes.
Yeah, the sort of clothes that are not...
Jackets, fur coats.
Closer. Not a coat, but what you said. Okay. Okay, these are water pumps also.
Tap.
This is a small thing that has information. You can implant it into people in science
fiction.
Chip. Well, small one.
Very small chip.
Okay, a word that...
Microchip.
Yes!
Another game that was a lot of fun, and I think this was one of the games that I saw immediately. I was trying to think of how it could be used in ELT because it seemed to be so perfect, especially for business English, was a game called Fun Employed. Now, I had never played this before.
No, we never played that. That was kind of our first time playing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and now Fun Employed, and you could easily see how you could make a version of this. Fun Employed, basically the players get a series of random characteristics, that you draw from cards. So you may draw a card and it'll say right-handed, and you draw another card and it'll say tall, and another card may say something like loves has a toy train collection or something like that.
You've got a card that said trench coat, I believe.
It said trench coat, which was very strange. And basically you have these cards which have characteristics, and then the person at the head of the table is the person offering a job. They draw a job card and they show it to everyone. And then you have to organize your characteristics to try to build a resume and explain how these things would make you most suitable for the job. So you have all these kind of unrelated things, and you have to. So we were applying for the job, let's say, of barista or of private security guard.
Just on the note of barista, Lindsay, I believe you were auditioning as a topless trench coat wearing barista.
Exactly. So you have all these kind of like weird things, and then you role play an interview, which ends up in a lot of hilarity. Let's take a listen.
So as we listen, we should point out that Daniel, who's speaking here, is applying to be a mailman.
I've got a lot of experience. I've worked in Dover, Andover, and when I was in Combe-Over, I worked for, well, you've heard of DHL, you've heard of FedEx. I worked for S&M. And in my years as a mailman, I've developed the skill of being able to post two houses at the same time, because I'm ambidextrous.
Oh, fantastic.
I just like the way he got all those cards together. They're such random cards that try to. What I enjoyed was the element of kind of the storytelling. Just trying to create a story essentially around the cards.
And a lot of the cards, of course, had kind of naughty things on it because it's like it's an adult card game, a bit in the vein of Cards Against Humanity or something like that. But I could easily see how you could adapt this with the less naughty things for ELT, sort of like making for advanced level business learners doing this kind of fake interview with random characteristics.
Well, I'm going to go a bit further than just the business. I think there's a lot of things. The cards would be great for exam practice, for immediately having to speak about topics, and also I like the fact that what struck me was good. It's good for impromptu presentations. Because I do a lot of presentation skills training, so they would be good in that way. I really enjoyed Fun Employed because of the games we'd chosen, there was only maybe one or two that I hadn't played before, and that was one of them. And it was fun, and I did get a job at the end of the day, so I can't really complain. Right, I've got some clips I've got a few clips from the next game, so I'll preface the game, because I don't know if you played this, did you? The Weird Things game.
No, I heard you all hooting with laughter about this.
I must admit, I mean, it was hilarious. It was a hilarious game because I think of the two teams that were playing, but I don't think I'd rush out and buy the game.
Okay.
So the game was Weird Things Humans Search For, which I think tells you everything you need to know. And basically, it's one of those list games. So in this case, it was based on internet searches. So you'd have
on Google, right? Like, which is the most common way?
I'm not sure if it was whole Google or Google, which is with it. But anyway, so it's British searching, and you were given the beginning of a sentence, as you would type into Google, where Google autofill,
like the autocomplete,
or you get a question like, why does Winnie the Pooh ... So let's listen to that clip. So why does Winnie the Pooh
doesn't wear pants?
Trousers.
Yeah, why does Winnie not wear pants? But it's not the top answer.
Okay, 2 points.
Yeah, 2 points.
The other one was like honey.
It's there for 2 points.
Okay.
Like love honey. So... The number one though, why does Winnie the Pooh have Mr. Sanders on his house?
What?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Mr.
Winnie the Pooh's from Sussex, like me.
He has a sign that says Mr. Sanders.
Oh yeah, got it. Yeah. Are you ready? If you want them all, why does Winnie the Pooh have Mr. Sanders' house? Why does Winnie the Pooh wear a crop top? Why does Winnie the Pooh like pudding? Why does Winnie the Pooh say, "Oh bother," not wear pants? Make me sad. Have an eating disorder. Have poo in his name. Spell honey, and love Christopher Robin.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you worked it out from that. So basically, two teams. So I give them the beginning of the sentence, and I'm holding a card that has 10 things on the list. Yeah, and if you match the thing that is top of the list, you get 4 points. And if you match something else that's on the list, you get 2 points. So you're allowed to make 2 guesses. The thing you think is top of the list, and then an extra guess. And it's played over 5 rounds, and the team with the most points get it. So, as with Fun Employed, if you were going to play this with students, you would need to rate some of the topics. We're going to let them go. Be warned that one of the topics you're about to hear is, how do I shave my... And you're already filling in the explicit ending of that one, was it?
Trigger warning.
And we've had to censor some of these clips because... one of the team players would always go for a fairly crude answer. Anyway, here's a few clips of the teams playing each other on that. And how do I shave my
Face.
Face gets you 2 points.
We said balls. Balls.
That gets you 4 points.
Of course they do.
See?
Finally.
Back, 2 points.
Legs.
4 points.
2 points. So, in order of answers, balls, bum, pubes, back, bikini area, head, dog, face, legs, beard.
So that was the result of our first ever TEFL Commute event, which was a board games night. Lots of people who were there said they would love to do it again. we would love to do it again. So we'll see about the possibility of doing this at another IATEFL or another conference where we all might meet up. If you have any stories yourself of playing any of these board games or other board games that you think would be good for English teachers, please drop us a line. You can find us at TEFLcommute.com. Where else can they find us, Sean? All the places.
They'll find us on the Facebook page. If you want to catch up on previous episodes, you'll find them all stored on Podomatic, on Spotify, those kind of sites. And just going back to games night, if anybody living in Manchester knows of a good game cafe, tell us.
Yeah, because we want to try booking it early. Finally, when we set this up and we put the games out, we had been in touch with the cafe, so we knew what games they had, and we did a curated list of those for the people coming there. We're going to put this list, which was our games menu for English teachers, up on the website at TEFLcommute.com with this episode in the show notes, so you can see yourself what games we were playing and what we said about them. And I think that's it. Sean?
Yeah, I think I need to go back to bed. I'm still recovering.
Yeah, me too. Bye, everybody.
Bye. See you next time.
You've been listening to the TEFL Commute, an original podcast produced and presented by Lindsay Clanfield, Sean Wilden and James Taylor. Don't miss out on any episodes by subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast player of choice, and by visiting us at TEFLcommute.com. Hello listener, this is producer James here with a quick bonus to this episode. As Sean mentioned, Lindsay was the plenary speaker on the Friday morning of this year's IATEFL conference, so I thought it might be nice for you to hear Sean introduce Lindsay at the conference. So here you go, this is Sean introducing Lindsay at IATEFL 2019.
This morning's plenary speaker. And it is a pleasure to do so, as I think we all say, because we tend to get to introduce our friends. Lindsay's been my friend for a number of years, and actually it's a friendship that is born out of IATEFL. 5 years ago, he was in GI SIG and I was in LT SIG, and he approached me and said, shall we do a podcast? And we created this series called EdTech Concerns, which fittingly is perhaps the topic as well of today's plenary. So 5 years ago, we made these podcasts for IATEFL, and we looked at lots of different aspects of technology use and perhaps the untalked parts of technology. By the end of that series, we kind of got a podcasting bug. And so since then, we meet pretty much every week to record a podcast called the TEFL Commute, which is aimed at looking at a lighter side of teaching. If you don't know Lindsay outside of podcasting, he's written many course books, Straightforward, Global come to mind, and he's got a new course book coming out shortly with Helbling, which is called Studio, if I remember rightly. He's won lots of awards for teaching, he's written methodology books, and of course this is a talk about technology, so I asked him about technology. I know quite a bit about him with technology, but he would describe himself as an occasional blogger, reluctant Facebook user, and for some reason, he also added he's been wearing a Fitbit for over a year. What you may not know about Lindsay is, apart from being a tech geek, he's a board game geek. In fact, he's just said to me, as we came up the stage, I'm more nervous now than I was trying to win the last lap of the Bahrain Grand Prix on my app. His love of gaming does spill over into ELT, though. And if you like the combination of two, then perhaps check out things he's written, like the English for the Zombie Invasion and The Island, a very mysterious PowerPoint game that he once came up with. But to close his introduction, I'll go back to our podcast, the TEFL Commute. When we start each episode, Lindsay says, this is a podcast for language teachers that's not about language teaching, but the topic might come up. So in that spirit, please welcome to the stage Lindsay Clanfield to give a technology talk that is not about technology, but the topic might come up. Lindsay.